Welcome everyone to the plenary keynote for the New to Cyber Summit. When we were planning out the agenda for today, I knew immediately who I wanted for the keynote. I was so thrilled when she accepted. Tanya Janka is the CEO and the founder of We Hack Purple. It's an application security training company based in Canada, but she's also the host of the We Hack Purple podcast, which I highly recommend. It's a wonderful resource for learning about the different types of jobs and people in security. Every week she has a new guest on. They talk about their career, their job role, all kinds of really interesting stories there. She's also, of course, the author of Alice and Bob Learn Application Security, the ebook that we are giving away today as a reminder. So if you want copies of that, if you want to get a chance to win one, be sure to ask questions during the sessions throughout the day. We've given away several copies already, and we've got a bunch more coming. I've really always admired how dedicated Tanya is to helping people learn new skills and get their security career started. I've really been looking forward to her talk. I think you're going to really enjoy it too. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Tanya for her keynote presentation, Your Career in Application Security. Thank you so much for being here today, Tanya.
Oh my gosh, David, you're amazing. Thank you. Okay, so someone is going to put up my slides, I believe, and then I can give her. That's Canadian for then we can do this. Hi everyone, I'm Tanya. Thank you so much for coming. I am so excited that you are at my talk, that you came to this event, that you're interested in our field. I really, really, really want you to join information security, but spoiler alert, I'm going to try to lure you specifically to the software realm because that is the part I'm excited about. So I want to talk about your career in application security. That's what I want. Okay, so I am clicking the next, there we go. Okay, so I want to first start about like where I started. So I was a dev. I loved building software. Then I met an ethical hacker, and basically he lured me. I say that strongly. Lured me over to the fun side. Um, he started showing me how to break things, how to fix things, etc. And then eventually, after a year, I became a pen tester. And then after being a pen tester for maybe a year or so, I decided, it turned out that I really wanted to do application security. I get to wear whatever I want to work right now. After working in application security for a while, I ended up starting my own company, We Hack Purple. I consult and do AppSec part-time, and then I am running the startup of doing training programs specifically around secure software. I never thought being a dev that I could have this huge, exciting life ahead of me. I started doing public speaking, speaking at events like this, speaking at like small, tiny meetups in my city, speaking basically anywhere anyone would take me. And before I knew it, I was getting invites to speak all over the world. I've spoken on 6 continents, which is pretty exciting. It was supposed to be 7 in 2020, but then, you know, pandemic. Um, but cybersecurity has so many different aspects about it compared to every different type of job that you might have, even within IT. You constantly get to learn new stuff. That's a really, really huge thing, especially in application security compared to, so if you're a cashier, there's not, once you've mastered all the things that your store sells, most of it tends to be the same over and over again. Or even if you do science, unless you are experimenting and learning the new science, you end up doing the same science sort of over and over again. This is not a diss on science. Science is freaking amazing, and science is the reason that we are all going to be getting vaccines soon. So I love science, don't get me wrong. But no matter what you do in IT, you must continue to learn. And specifically in application security and other areas of cybersecurity, it is just like this constantly. So yes, I am a CEO now of my own company, and I have traveled all over the planet. And this is something that could happen for you in cybersecurity. I know right now with the pandemic, traveling is not really a thing that anyone wants to do very much of. I have been grounded for a whole year, and honestly, I've kind of enjoyed staying home. But working in cybersecurity has given me the ability to spend time and money on causes that are important to me because it pays really well, even better than software development, which I was shocked about. It has allowed me to do more work that I feel truly matters to me and my values. And this is an amazing thing that cyber opened up for me. I feel proud of the work that I do. I feel that when I work with a company and help them build an AppSec program, I know that I'm not only helping those people that were in my class, but all the people that they are protecting. And that's the same for every SANS instructor, right? Like they're teaching people how to fish instead of giving them a fish. They're helping them protect other people. I feel that cybersecurity is noble work. And so who am I? I'm Tanya Janka. I started my own company. We do this slide specifically so that you're like, oh, she seems pretty qualified. Like we maybe should listen to her. It's not because we want you to know our resume. It's specifically so that you think we're worth listening to. So I hope that this slide full of bragging is helping, but basically I am a nerd on the internet. Oh, someone is saying in the chat, do you need to be a pen tester to be proficient in application security? No, you do not. You only need to know basic testing. If you do happen to have totally kick butt red team skills, that can help you. But application security, that is just one part under the entire umbrella of AppSec. Okay, so we already covered this. Oh yeah, so my company has 6 people now. That's really exciting that like this career has led to me being able to give livelihood, like jobs to other people. But mostly I want you to know, so first I'm going to tell you like a little bit about me, but then I'm going to tell you about how you can go do some AppSec. So our field is changing and growing. We need more people. So I'm sure you've heard this and you're going to hear it all day, but there are not enough qualified, trained people to do every job that we need doing in our field. But AppSec is especially like, we need you. You can help us decide what this industry is going to be, right? You can help us change things for the better. And I'm not saying that AppSec isn't good now. I'm saying it would be even better with you. This talk is just a brief introduction to what is application security or the security of software, what you can do to start learning, and action you can take. Okay, so like I said earlier, I'm pretty biased. I think AppSec is the best. I think all the other fields are equally important, but I think AppSec's the most fun. I find it the most interesting. I am biased because I was a dev forever. You don't have to be a dev in order to get into AppSec. Well, there's a question in the chat. Did you start with CTFs? No, I actually don't really like CTFs and I almost never do them. And then the next question is there a standard career path to get into AppSec? Do you have to have a developer background? If you have a developer background, it will help you get into application security. If you don't, you can still definitely do it. Is there a standard path to get into AppSec? Not right now, but I've been trying really hard to make one with We Hack Purple. All right, so let's start with what the heck is AppSec? So application security, or AppSec for short, right? Let's dive in. I wish I could see my next slides. I'm really used to being able to see like what's coming. Application security is every single thing that you do to make sure that the software where you work is secure. So this is every type of software. So this could be a piece of software that is installed natively on your operating system. This could be web applications. This could be APIs. Like any type of thing that is software is technically part of AppSec. And when we say an application security program, we mean formalizing security steps to ensure that your software is secure building it in to the system development lifecycle, which is how software developers create software. So AppSec is just doing things to try to make the software secure or verify that it's secure. But an AppSec program is formalizing all of that and making sure it happens every single time. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the current state of affairs. I'm seeing like a bunch of questions. Is AppSec the field in which a beginner should start in cybersecurity? I believe that you should figure out what area of cybersecurity interests you, and then you should go full steam ahead on that. I became a pen tester because I did not understand that there was a job that was right between the devs and the security team, helping both sides reach the things that they need, still getting to look at code and play with code, but also getting to smash things, helping devs, teaching them cool new stuff, assisting them. I didn't know that job existed, and that's how I ended up being a pen tester. I started the We Hack Purple community and podcast and all of that, but specifically the podcast to show people all the different types of jobs within information security to ensure that people could try to help find the correct one that was right for them. And then you're off to the races. So it's not about it's the best one for beginners. It's that it needs to be the best one for you, for your talents, for your interests, for the way you are as a person. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about the current state of affairs briefly, and then we are going to get on to some more questions. Okay, so you probably have heard from all over the internet that everyone's getting hacked. And poor grammar aside, there are a lot of data breaches occurring. Are you aware, though, that a very large percentage of those breaches are caused by insecure software? In fact, we have been the #1 cause that's insecure software for data breaches for years and years and years. I believe it's been at least a decade now, where every year we win the awful title of being the #1 cause of data breaches. I know that people will tell you, oh, the #1 type of attack is phishing. Yeah, that's nice. Attacks are bad, I get it. But actually having your data stolen is basically the worst. And that is caused by insecure software every single year. I would like us to lose in 2021. I don't see it happening, but we are on our way. And when you look at the budget for your security team, you will see that 40% is not dedicated to securing your software. They're like, oh, the devs will handle that. Yeah, they would like to, except for when you go to university or college, still, they're not teaching application security. They are still not teaching secure coding. I guest lecture at universities all the time, and some of them are still teaching waterfall as the only way to develop software. Some of them are they're just not covering security either at all, most of them, or they're just covering one tiny part, which is identity and access management, which is super important. Super important. But imagine going to school to become an electrician and they don't teach you any safety. And so then sometimes houses just burn down all the time, and that's not a big deal. That's what's happening in software development right now. So what is AppSec? Like I said before, I really want you to be able to take this home. It's any and every activity that you perform to ensure that your software is secure, whether it's a formalized program where you work, where every app has to go through it, or if it's just one dev working so hard trying to make sure their app is secure. When I was a penetration tester, so I see this almost everywhere. So most places are like, we need our apps to be secure. What do? Let's hire a pen tester. Some person comes in, they come in right at the end of the system development lifecycle, the SDLC, right before it's about to go to prod. They're so close. And then they're the first person. So like when I was a pen tester, I'm just going to be super honest, I was not the best pen tester. I was okay. I was not fantastic. I was okay at it. But I looked awesome because I would be the first person to look at security at all. So they would be doing requirements with no help from the security team, design, coding, all of that. No one would look at security or help the devs. Then I come in and it's like shooting fish in a barrel. I look really smart and amazing. I'd find tons of stuff wrong. And although looking good is nice, I got really frustrated. The devs would have to stay up really late trying to fix those bugs, like right before the release, or the release would get pushed. They would release with tons of things still wrong. The fixes they would do would not necessarily be very good. And this is what I see happening more often than not. And hiring a pen tester is expensive. It's a lot of money. Trust me, I know, because I was on the other side of that and I was like, yay, money. But what I started doing is I just started doing AppSec to my clients. I would show up way before they needed me, and I would go through the requirements. I would go through their design. I would whiteboard it out, their architecture with them, be like, oh, I see kind of a problem here. And I just started doing that, and I didn't need to charge that much more. And then by the time we got to the pen test, I wouldn't find that much because we had fixed it all earlier, and the app was in much better shape. And I have to say, the reason why I switched is because it made me feel so good to help so much more. All of you, if you work in cyber, you're learning about cyber, you're going to learn this. This is the mandate for why cybersecurity people have jobs. It is our job to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the systems and the data that we are guarding. I show this to devs and all of them are like, what's that? I've never seen that before. I want everyone to know what this is that works in IT. Security people are awesome at keeping secrets, and we stink at marketing. Okay, so how do we do AppSec, right? So let's talk about what we can do in order to do some AppSec. So these are well, actually, let me start. So application security program is the formalization of security activities throughout your system development lifecycle. I put her because I thought she looked like a badass, especially with her arms crossed. I'm like, don't mess with this lady. Don't open up ports on her server. She'll be pissed. But an AppSec program is making sure that security happens in each step of the system development lifecycle to support the devs in making sure the app at the end is actually in really good shape. Then if you bring in a pen tester, they're gonna have to work really hard to earn those dollars. They're gonna have to work really hard to find things wrong. They're like the final step before you go out into the world, and by that I mean the internet. So I really like food. And so I decided that I would show you the different types of common application security activities based on food. So the main course, I'm calling it, is very common types of activities that I see and that you're probably going to hear about. Then we're going to look at gravy, and that is extra cool stuff that I see that has equal value, but I see it a lot less often, and I would love to see it more. Then we're going to talk about dessert, which is stuff for extra special situations. So what I commonly see as part of an AppSec program would be vulnerability scans, dynamic application security testing scans, or vulnerability assessments or security assessments. So a security assessment is where a human, an expert, comes in and assesses your security. They often have a checklist of things to look through. They use a bunch of tools to scan things. They try to find every single possible vulnerability and tell you about them so you can fix them. A VA scan or a DAST scan or a web app security scan is where you run an automated tool against your web application to try to find all the low-hanging fruit. If you have an expert running it, you can find all sorts of things. You can get deeper and deeper and deeper into it. But running scans, so if someone says run a scan, it will find on a web app low-hanging fruit. On an operating system, it'll find a lot more because operating systems are all the same. If you have Windows Server 2008 R2 with certain patches, it's the exact same as if I install those things. But when you make a custom application, it is a snowflake. And so when you run a scanner on it, it's doing its best to look for patterns, but it's not a sure thing that it will find even half of the stuff that's wrong. Threat modeling and design whiteboarding. So I love threat modeling. I talk about it a lot. I even do it in my private life where I'm like, what could go wrong? And trying to brainstorm what could go wrong and then planning for it. Well, planning to defend against it. You want to mitigate those risks, like either make those risks less scary, or you want to stop those risks altogether, eliminate them. And if none of that is possible, sometimes you just have to accept that that risk exists. So threat modeling is a brainstorming session, and then design whiteboarding is literally what it sounds like. I get together with some devs and I'm like, hey, could you tell me about your app? And I draw it out on a whiteboard. And I'm like, is there encryption there? Because I would like there to be encryption there. Oh, are you authenticating and authorizing? I would really like it if you would add that there. And just basically making sure their architecture looks good. So there are 3 things on this line. So I see a lot of companies do secure code review. That's where you review the code for potential security issues. You can also do software composition analysis, which means either using a tool to scan your third-party code and making sure it's not, known to be vulnerable, like no one's reported problems with it, or it can mean actually examining the third-party components like libraries and frameworks yourself to make sure that they are secure. And then SAST is a tool that you can buy, static application security testing tools, where it will tear apart your whole app and parse it into different chunks, and then it will look for where it thinks vulnerabilities could potentially be found and just give you lists of places to look that there could be a problem. We review code so that it is high quality, and in our case, so that it is secure. I already talked about penetration testing, but let me give you my definition. So when I worked places, I generally did security assessments. I rarely would try to exploit things, but sometimes I would. It would depend on the client. But when you do penetration testing, you try to find the vulnerabilities and then you try to exploit them to prove that they are a problem. I feel writing exploits takes a lot of time, so unless my client wants to pay extra time or not give me as much time to find and help fix the vulnerabilities, I would usually just err on the side of, I found it, I know something's wrong, like if you want me to prove it to you, I can, but let me just spend that time instead finding more stuff that's wrong for you. Pen testing is the most famous thing in the AppSec industry. I do not get it. I don't understand why we have movies about it. I don't get it. I think it's really important, but I don't think it's more important than all the other things on this list. It's the check that everything else went well. If we don't do any of the other things, like I said, the pen tester looks particularly awesome. You can do almost all of this stuff on apps that you buy as well as apps that you make yourself. So if you buy a big product like SharePoint, OpenText, like a huge thing that you're going to install on a server or in your cloud, so you have your own instance running for your organization, you should be doing a pen test. If you're allowed to review the code, you should. You should threat model it. You should test that it is secure. When I was a pen tester, I did that and I would find things wrong. I'll just leave it at that. So this is poutine. This is the Canadian national dish. It is French fries, and then you put cheese curds in it, and you pour hot gravy on it, so it melts the cheese curds. And this is how we stay warm in Canada's winters, by eating 3,000 calories in one sitting. It actually tastes really good. So what are extra things that we can do that I think have high value, but that are not, that I don't see everywhere? I would like to see more of these. So first, there we go. Educating developers on secure coding and also giving them workshops, talks, lessons, whatever you can do to teach them the things you wish they knew. Buttons, there we go. Giving them secure coding guidelines, giving them standards to follow, creating a responsible or coordinated disclosure program so that allows people to report bugs to you so that you know what's wrong. Creating a secure code library or giving them reference materials, creating custom tools for them. The Netflix AppSec team is very well known in the AppSec industry for creating completely awesome tools and then open sourcing them. I basically have like a professional crush on them. They do such cool stuff. Okay, so for dessert, these are more advanced things that you should only do if you are able to. So these are things where you're doing all the other things we talked about, and then you're going to do these things at work. So the first one is doing a bug bounty program. So big companies like Facebook, Google, Microsoft, etc., they have bug bounties, but the average company isn't ready for that. It can have really high value if you need, for instance, if you're making the operating system Windows. You really want to make sure that's okay and get as many eyes on it as you can. But for Alice and Bob's flower shop on the corner, they do not need a bug bounty. Hands-on training. So this is actually doesn't have to be an advanced thing, but I put it on here because it's fun. So capture the flags work really well for someone. There's coding challenges. There's platforms where they will teach you about secure coding and you do the activity with them. That's really cool. Red team exercises. So that is where you get a bunch of people who are basically that are penetration testers that are skilled at specifically doing it on production systems live. And so a red team exercise invites a bunch of professionals to attack your production systems in order to verify that you actually do or do not have risk. So if you hire a red team and 3 minutes later they're like, we're in, you have some problems and you were not ready for that. But if you hire a red team and they have to work really hard to figure out ways in, that's great. And then they'll show you those ways and you better believe it, you close them. And you continue to test. The Canadian government has a red team that attacks our military. I believe the United States has one as well. Lots of places have red teams. I use QuickBooks and they have a red team. They actually have a really cool AppSec program, but I digress. Okay, so this is the most important part that I really, really want you to take home. I want you to be able to do some AppSec. And so I got into AppSec by one, finding a professional mentor. So I'm going to share how you can do that at the end. Two, by volunteering at my IT job that I already had for everything the security team did. Oh my gosh, I followed them around like a little puppy dog with big eyes. Like, can I come on this incident? Can I help with this? Can I help with your project? And then training myself. There's lots of free and paid training resources on the internet. So let's get started with some things that you could do. So the first thing you could do is you could learn testing apps. I'm starting with this one because if you don't know how to code, you can still totally kick butt at this. So if you're going to test a web app, the first thing is you need permission. You cannot test an app that does not belong to you unless you have permission from a person who has authority to give you permission. So the stuff I'm going to talk about, do not go and point this at the SANS website. It's not acceptable to start trying to hack websites. Okay? So just be clear. Okay, so you can use a web proxy or a web app scanner, a DAST scanner. There's a whole bunch, and lots of them are free or have free trials that are really good. Often called a dynamic application security testing tool. So that's what AppSec people call them. People outside are like, it's a scanner, but we tend to say DAST. It sits between your browser and the internet, and it will automatically run tests for you. It will tell you what to fix, and if it's good, it will tell you how you can fix it and give you documentation. It will not find everything, but it will find low-hanging fruit, and I usually advise devs, please fix every single thing you can that it finds. There are paid and free options, and I will not publicly say what my favorites are because I am on the board for one. And obviously I'm going to say that one because I really like it. And also I'm friends with them and I think it's amazing. So I am biased. Don't use a scanner on an app that you don't have permission to test. That is illegal. So let's briefly talk some caution because I don't want to send you off excited and have you do stuff so that you should not do. So ensure you have permission from your boss if you're doing this at work. There might be policies against it. You need to tell the security team you are coming. Be considerate. When I first started doing this, I would aim it at my dev server and then no one else could dev because I was just like, bogging down the server so much no one else could use it. You should be careful. Scanners can be destructive, so you should back up your data first. And if you can, back up your app. Unless you have a CI/CD pipeline where you just press a button and it will redeploy for you. But if you're doing waterfall, you want to back up your app server. This is an activity that requires a bit of learning before you start to ensure you don't damage anything or tick anyone off. So I suggest running a virtual machine on your own computer at home and installing an intentionally vulnerable app and then just attacking it locally on your own machine. Do your worst. That's totally okay. Learn like that before you offer to do stuff at work. Tell the security team when you start and you finish because they are watching and you don't want a real intrusion to happen and they think it's you, and you don't want them to think you are a real intruder. Threat modeling, super fun. This is something you can start right away safely, even if you don't know what you're doing. So it is figuring out negative use cases and ways to defend against them. So it's a brainstorming session. I call it evil brainstorming, where programmers and security and a member of the business try to figure out why someone might try and how to try to abuse your app. Then you search your code, so you review your code for these threats, you test your code for these threats. Thinking like an adversary is actually super fun. It's educational, and it is good team building between the security and dev team, or security and business. Reviewing your code. Look at this chill lady. You see how she looks relaxed and zen? That's because she reviewed her code and she knows it's good. So if you don't know how to code, you will not be doing this step. That is okay. There are still lots of things in AppSec that you can do that are not this. You can depend on your devs to do this step and send them on training to do this for you. You do not need to be an amazing coder to do AppSec. It just really helps. So I use SAST tools, static application security testing tools. It gives me lots of places to look and helps me, like, it just kickstarts and makes me look very smart. I also always run software composition analysis tools, which will tell me which third-party code is not known to be secure. So libraries, frameworks, anything else that you've plugged into your code, you are accepting that risk, and I want to know if people know there's a problem with it. Manual code review. So this is a thing that I end up doing after I get my SAST results. Especially if I see one problem, I'm like, I'm going to look everywhere. They probably messed this up more than once. You should also search for your threat models to see if those are possible. So even the most expensive SAST tool produces false positives. So to me, it's giving me hints of where to look. It is not saying this is broken. It's saying this might be broken, and here's how we think it is. The work, basically there's no point and click for SAST that works perfectly. They will tell you that it is 100% true positives, but it is very rare that that is the case. And that's okay. It's saving you tons of time and finding lots of things that human eyes might not be able to find. You can find more than security bugs. I used one of these. So I ran the security for the election in Canada in 2015. And before that, I led the team that built the software that ran the election. And we ran one of these tools, not only to fix security stuff, but we found memory leaks. As you know, I'm Canadian. I probably have said A more times than I can count. And we have to run our election software in the Arctic on a 32 kilobit modem to make sure every single Canadian can vote. And without finding those memory leaks, we wouldn't have been able to do that. Writing better code. So this, if you are a dev, please listen up. If you are not a dev, this is advice you can give. So I don't mean be condescending and be like, stop writing crappy code. I mean, well, let's see what I mean. So just like any skill, if you are an athlete, you are awesome at something, you continue to hone your craft and perfect your skills. You don't stop just because you're good. You want to be the best. And you can do that by learning secure code. So you can train yourself on secure coding practices. That's what I did. You can read my book, which is all about that. I also have like tons of blogs and other articles that are for free because I am shameless. I'm always giving stuff away for free. I'm not great at business. I'm awesome at AppSec. There are many quality resources online. Some are free, some are paid. There are courses and conferences. You can volunteer at a conference and then get in free. I started speaking at conferences literally because I had no training budget and I just wanted to get in free. And spoiler alert, I still do that. I still am like, I can't wait to go to this conference to see these other experts speak and learn. You can check online. So this is the number one thing. Check online for the most secure way to do something before you do it. This is a big deal. Lots and so many devs, so I did this. This is why I did this every day. If there was something I didn't know, I would go look on Stack Overflow. I would pick the top thing, copy and paste it into my code, check if my code compiles. It does what I want, boom, keep coding. That is always the least secure code on the internet. Whatever is voted to the top has had all the security taken off of it so that it will work. If you can look for the most secure way to do something when you're doing it, it will take you 30 more seconds and your code will go straight up in quality. I know it sounds silly, but this is such a good tip. You can become the security expert on your team. You can be the security team's champion of their cause. You can help the rest of your team learn about coding. You can do this right now if you are a dev and you're working somewhere. And this will be like your first giant leaps towards AppSec. So I'm going to summarize and then take some questions because I know that we only have until 10 to the hour and I really don't want to be disrespectful of the next speaker's time. So let's summarize what we learned today and do a bunch of questions. So insecure software is a big problem that is very expensive, and in my opinion, it is one of the top problems in all of cyber because it is causing the data breaches. And I think most of us can agree the data breaches are terrifying. AppSec programs produce more secure software, not perfectly secure. As any security researcher will tell you, it is very difficult to make perfectly secure software, but it will reliably release significantly more secure software. And our industry really needs you. Really, really do. Oh yeah. So I'm going to give you a couple free resources and then questions. So first off, these are awesome books. Like the person before me was saying, you can't do security right if you are not doing IT right. And if you are building software, DevOps is the right choice. It's just so much better than waterfall. Oh my gosh, I love DevOps. So the first 4 books are about how to be awesome at DevOps and why DevOps is amazing. And the last book is my book, the beautiful picture there. Alice and Bob Learn Application Security. If you have no cyber experience, you can still read almost all of my book and understand. If you have no dev experience, you can read my whole book and understand. There are a couple code parts, but most of it, I think there's 3 pages of code total, and I tell you what the code means. I only put the code in there so that devs can just copy and paste because, right? I want to make it as easy as possible, and it will teach you right from the very beginning. It is made easy to understand on purpose. If you are a woman or a person that identifies as a woman, we use this definition as widely as possible. You can join WOSEC for free. We want to meet you. We're basically we're all over the place now. I think we have 34 physical chapters, but now that we have an internet platform site where we all hang out, like it doesn't matter where you are on the planet. If you want to meet other women and make new friends who are interested in security, this is for you. Cyber Mentoring Monday. Every Monday for a whole bunch of years now on Twitter, myself and now many other members of the community use this hashtag to help people find professional mentors. If you're at this summit, you are on the receiving end of this. So you can use this hashtag and say, hi, I want to learn AppSec. Where do I start? I need a mentor. We have paired hundreds of people, if not thousands. It might be someone just responding to you and saying, I suggest you read this book. Here's a link of where you can get it. And then once you've read it, let's talk. It can mean someone forming a long-term relationship with you and becoming a formal professional mentor. This has helped a lot of people. I would like to suggest that you check out the hashtag, see what people do and talk about, and then put yourself out there. I will retweet you every single Monday if you tag me and you use this tag. I will retweet you to all my followers until you find someone that can help you. Every Monday. Resources me, so I blog and I have a YouTube channel. I have a website, but all it does is say like, please follow me on Twitter and or buy my book. I am mostly found on Twitter. My marketing team made a Facebook account. I hate Facebook, it's evil. But they said I had to grow up and have one. And so if you want to talk to my interns, you can contact me on Facebook. They're like, stop saying that. But mostly I am on Twitter. I'm also on LinkedIn, but I'm not allowed new connections. I would say yes, but I've reached the maximum and they are fussy pants and they have not given in on that. And with that, I want to thank you and invite people for questions. I believe that we have around 4 minutes left, so I am going to start. As an application security expert, can you please tell us what could have avoided an attack like SolarWinds? SolarWinds is quite complex, but someone stole their private key. If someone stole your private key, you're in serious trouble. So doing proper secret management would have helped them, including rotating their keys. Also, code review. So when people do software composition analysis, if they're using a tool, it wouldn't have found it. But the people who actually do the software composition analysis, who actually analyze the third-party components, they could have found that. SolarWinds is extremely special because they have a very, very, very high risk compared to the average company. Generally, companies are not targeted by nation states. They need a completely different level of application security than like 98% of companies and people. Hi, David, you're back.
Hi, I am back. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. You're doing great
Oh,
on this
okay.
question.
Okay, so is there a certification? So We Hack Purple offers a certificate of completion. I wouldn't call that a certification per se. I know that EC Council, who I have nothing good to say about, has something that they call the Certified Application Security Engineer, and in my expert opinion, has nothing to do with application security. They don't teach anything in that course from the syllabus. So is there a formal certification that is recognized in our industry for application security? Not that I'm aware of. David, could you correct me? Does SANS have one? I know SANS has the GWAP, which is like how to do web app pen testing, and that's quite good, but I don't know of one that's specifically for AppSec.
Honestly, we have so many, I can't tell you
I
that
know
I
you have,
know all of them. I
yeah,
must specifically for
I
correct the
haven't looked
ones.
in a
Yeah.
year and a half. I've just been really busy, but when I was first getting into it, I definitely took a good long look at all their courses and was like a bit drool. It was like, all these look good. Why don't I have $100,000 so I could take all of them? I quit my job. I just attend SANS.
You
I'm just
probably
saying
just got me.
if you just like give me a bunch of free courses, I'm saying I might go.
You probably
Okay,
just
so do
got
you
me in
have to?
trouble by saying that I didn't know all of the sand certs. So, but that's
Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so Todd, do app dev companies hire AppSec professionals? Yeah, I love security, but I also enjoy working with the creative folks. Well, that's the whole thing with AppSec is you get to work directly with the devs all the time. Like the devs become your besties. That's actually part of why I loved it because I am a dev in my heart. When I decided to take software development instead of because like I'm scholastically inclined, I'm really good at that sort of thing, and so I got offered to like every school for everything. I got offered for things I didn't apply for, and so I chose it because I liked the people in my software development classes the best. I was just like I want to work with people like this, and so yeah, you get to hang out with devs, and there's actually so many companies hiring, it's ridiculous. So yes, Todd, so much yes. And we post introductory jobs in the We Hack Purple community online all the time because like there's just companies looking constantly. So Saba, can you be a cloud architect and get into transition into application security? Absolutely. You can be like a nurse or a kindergarten teacher and transition for sure. But being a cloud architect, damn, you have a giant running head start because you already understand technology, you already understand architecture. So as soon as you know some of the simple questions to ask in regards to security for app architecture, you'll be able to spot things very quickly. And then, learning how to threat model is just you starting to realize to ask the same questions. It just becomes a habit, almost like muscle memory. How much more time do we have?
Um,
Because I don't want to go over. Can I
Maybe
answer more
maybe we
questions?
could take one more question. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Is SQL important? So this is Rebecca. Is SQL important or just general knowledge? SQL would be important to know if you are going to investigate an incident and do forensics in regard to like an SQL injection type of attack. But if you are not the incident forensics person, then no, you don't need to know any SQL. You just need to know that you expect developers to use parameterized queries. That's it. And you just tell them you need them to do that and you make it a policy. You don't have to write them for them. There's tons of examples on the internet. Cool. So I am going to go to the Slack after David says the goodbye, and you can meet me there in the Tanya channel that they made for me, and I will try to answer all the rest of the questions for you before I leave.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much,
David. Thank you
Tanya.
so much for having me.
That was a fantastic keynote. I don't think we could have asked for a better morning keynote, and also a great insight into the specifics of application security as a career. So perfect. Thank you very much. And as
Thank
Tanya
you.
said, the Slack channel here for connecting with her after is the hallway Tanya Janka. So thank you very much.